Hello YouTube, this is your host Tantam18_2, and welcome to my InterWorld Redstone video. And yes, the footage that you just saw is an example of InterWorld Redstone transmission, where by using this setup, you can actually send commands from this world to any other world that you choose, using an exploit that I found in the 14W21B snapshot. So let's get started. Let's pick this apart, and I'll take you in depth on how this works. So you know what game ticks are. They are the tachyons to time itself. Everything that needs to happen in Minecraft is run on ticks. Things like moving the player around, to opening up your inventory, and selecting the blocks on the ground. Those are all run on game ticks. But there's other types of ticks, like random ticks, or otherwise known as block position updates. These kinds of ticks are responsible for all plant growth and despawning of animals and leaves and such. These kinds of ticks are necessary for growing crops, for growing vines, for spawning animals, for despawning monsters. You get the idea. And the third type of tick are schedule ticks, and these are kept separate from random ticks. These schedule ticks have to deal with redstone and anything that can be powered by redstone. And these ticks are run every 2 game ticks, whereas the random ticks are run every game tick. So this button is powering this piston 2 ticks later. And this is important to know why later on. Here's the setup used for the video. Here's the setup used for the video with wool blocks representing command blocks. And here's the main command for the exploit. Random tick speed actually deals with random ticks as explained before. The default is set to 3 block position updates per tick. We can increase this number to change how many random ticks happen per tick. For example, if we change this number to 60,000, which may seem a lot, but it actually increases the growth rate for plants, for growing vines, for spawning and despawning monsters. You get the idea. And look, it just happened. As we increase the number of random ticks for random tick speed, the number of scheduled ticks stay the same. So if we increase it to 1.2 million, redstone will actually appear to slow down rather than speed up. This is because it takes so long to process all those random ticks per tick between scheduled ticks. And this is actually the core basis of this exploit. So let's press this button and we'll pick through what actually happens at every tick. So the button has been pressed. The command block executes its command, which sets random tick speed to 1.2 million. But this repeater hasn't lit up yet. It hasn't carried its signal through. That's because this command block is scheduling a redstone update for this redstone repeater to carry through its signal. Even though it's essentially frozen in time, it's still processing 1.2 million random ticks, which will take about 20 seconds. On this pillar, which I've dubbed a visual tick clock, normally after each use of the exploit, these vines will have grown in place again for the next use. So after you press the button, you will want to break all the vines on the pillar. And they won't grow back for 2 ticks. First tick, the game will need to recognize that these vines have been broken, and on the second tick, the game will realize that there's air spaces here available for vine growth. So 2 ticks later, after the vines have regrown, you will need to press this button. Upon activation, the animation for the button getting clicked will be executed by the game's normal tick, not by scheduled ticks, nor random ticks. But since this is redstone, the game will schedule a redstone tick for the button to play its expulsion animation. I'm not sure how to put that way, but playing the sound for the button being clicked, the clicking sound, that takes up to 1 tick to play, and that is key in executing this exploit. So 1 tick later, that clicking sound will play, and that will be your cue to exit this world, go into another world of your choosing, so that this command can execute in that world. So in layman's terms, it's pretty simple to do all of this. Essentially, you need 3 ticks to execute this. 2 ticks for the vines to grow and 1 tick for the clicking sound to play. So all you have to do is click the button, break the vines, wait for them to grow, and after they grow, you press the button, and you wait for the clicking sound to be played. When you hear the clicking sound, that's your cue to exit the world, enter another one for this command block to execute it. It's that simple. So these 4 tests are my experiments on this exploit. This first one is when I finally am able to replicate this exploit. And when I first found about this, when I first discovered it in my LP, I was pretty shocked and stoked about it after I just used this and something similar to this in my main test world. I can see why it hasn't been found yet. Something like this wouldn't be able to happen normally with anybody else, but I just somehow happened upon it. This next one, I put a clock on it to see if it would be able to execute indefinitely. It happens putting a clock on this is a weird thing over there. I'll get to that later. But having more than having more than a 1 tick delay, the clock just runs fine, but the clock itself doesn't work at all after 2 executions. This just runs 2 commands. If I put it on more than 2 ticks display, after I unload the world by exiting, this won't work. This will actually be delayed indefinitely. This will stay on and be turned on, even though this has been powered. And I know this will delay itself if I do this. It'll just do that. But it just delays itself. So my next one, I decided to put a piston clock on it. And this one's a bit hilarious, to be honest. So it's using 1 tick delay repeaters all around here. And I was able to pull off 32 commands before the game crashed. 32 commands for a full-blown second. That's pretty amazing. But again, the clock doesn't seem to want to work if it's in an unloaded world. But surprisingly enough, that it ran for 32 commands in an unloaded world. And just to be clear, every 32 of those commands have been scheduled every time by these 4 torches. Or, yeah. It's a pretty strange contraption, this one, I'll tell you that. And my last one was to confirm if this clock would work at all or not. Because I was getting to the point where it might just be that. And this doesn't work at all. I'll explain why. Even though this has essentially 10 repeaters and a loop, it still stops itself. I was able to get 32 and then 5 to 7 with that one afterwards. And then with this one, I was just able to get 2 every time, because it would send out a signal down this way, executing this one, and then it will go in a loop and execute this one again, even though this one is powered, and even though these 2 are on 1-tick delays. Yeah, I'm not really sure why it does this, but it does. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'll be happy to try and answer them, because I know you guys will have some questions after this video. This is a very weird bug in the game. But yeah, if you liked it, please leave a like, and as always, I will see you guys next time.